Alright, this is networking. First networking course, Networking 200, and this is 9/14/16. This is day 5 of the class. Alright, take the chapter 2 pre-assessment. We talked a little bit about chapter 1 packet tracer. Chapter 2, we get started on the lab work. To log in internally, we'll look at this more specifically, but you can type that, and what that does is that telnets you into a router. You notice we're using telnet, not SSH, and the password for that is Cisco. Alright. Talked about routers, RAM, running config, it's in the RAM. So you have a router, we draw a picture like this, but the router actually functions much like a PC internally. Okay? It has a motherboard, and it has a processor, and it has RAM, memory, some chips in there, and it's got a bus, and everything communicates. Now how we communicate to it, we can console in, we'll talk more about that. Flash, on some of the routers this is a card, and some of the routers is built right in to the motherboard. We had NVRAM, non-volatile RAM. RAM that doesn't go away, that's where we keep the startup config. And so we'll be doing things like adjusting the running config, and then we'll copy that to the startup config so we have it just in case the device reboots or whatever. Because if the device turns off, this RAM goes away. We keep this, we keep that, but that goes away if we lose power. Alright. Once we're in, we can type enable, and then here's where I explain the process up here. We do a copy run start, copy running config to startup config. If we're going to configure, we can go config T, and then that puts us in configuration mode, and there's actually different levels once we're in there. Alright, so here's an example we talked about, running config to startup config. And you can actually do that reverse. When the system boots, the router boots, it wants to take the startup config and make it the running config. Alright, stored in flash is the iOS, the inter-networking operating system. That is different than little I OS, which is Apple's. Okay? So you don't want to confuse those. So we have a router, and we can telnet into that router, and it allows us to console in to devices, actually 32 different devices we have it set up for. And we have the devices, and then we access them by device 1, device 2, up to 32. Alright, one last. So here's the big picture. We can SSH to a server SSH to a server. These both happen to be work server 2. And then from that server is connected to the main switch. From that server we can telnet to the routing device and get to our devices in the room. So we actually have access anywhere where you can get to the internet. And then the easiest thing to use would be PuTTY to get into the devices. Alright, that's it for today.